Welcome back to America Tonight. Our next guest is in our virtual green room. We spared no expense. I hope he plays along. By the way, David Long. He is the author of Built to Lead. Yeah, we didn't plan that out. And we wanted to talk about, of course, moving forward, what he's talking about in his book, what he addresses that I think affects so many people, but also in tying that into the unemployment rate, which is down 6.2%. So the economy is bouncing back. So are there more jobs? Is that, if you're looking for a job, does that mean that this is better off for employers? And that's a great question. Are there more people to pick from? Can they put the right people together, in other words, because the ocean is that much bigger? David, thanks for coming on the show. And what do you think when the ocean is full of fish, and is the fishing good and you can get better people and put them together?
Well, personally, my brother, Randy, manages $100-some million of assets for different business people. And one of the things that he checks is always he wants to know the accurate numbers on unemployment. And he actually, and anybody he says that really manages money, tends to go to shadowstats.com, which is John Williams' site. Uh-huh. And they basically say that unemployment, when you factor in, if you actually calculate it like they did back in the 80s, is not 6.2%. It's actually closer to 20%. And that they get from people who are underemployed and where they normally were making money, higher amount in another job, and they actually took a cut in pay. And they couldn't get full-time work. But they're still counted as being employed. Also, people that were not counted as being employed, or now they're dropped out of the workforce, and they're still counted because they're not listed as looking for work. So it's actually manipulated a little bit on the numbers. And if you calculate, like I said, like they did back in the 80s, it's pretty dramatic in the difference between the two. So
wow.
Personally, I don't think it's as good. You got a lot of people. I've seen some charts, too, that say things are better. But I actually counsel business people. And I've got one of my friends who is a jeweler, and his business is off 30% this year after being off 20% last year. So we're brainstorming, trying to figure out different ways to help him be more successful. But that's just one of the business people that I know. And we're doing good. My company's doing great, but a lot of them aren't, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad that you turned us on to that. Shadowsteps.com?
Shadowstats.com, John Williams' site.
Wow.
And that's the one that the financial people is one of their trusted sources for getting the real numbers, not the ones that the government manipulates. It's the bottom line. That's really what it is. For example, they take out, when they figure out inflation today, they take out the two things that really hit consumers. They take out food costs, they take out fuel costs. Now think about this. When you go to the grocery store, do you feel like it's only 2% inflation in the last year?
No.
It's a lot worse than that. So, the real number they actually say is somewhere maybe between 8 and 10% is the actual inflation. You can look at things like orange juice. They shrink the container from 64 ounces to 59 ounces. You buy cereal, there's less cereal in the box. Various things like that. And if you just compare them, magazines like Consumer Reports will show you what things used to be and what they are now. That's a good source to check that out.
Yeah, no kidding. Great advice there. All right, so you wrote a book and you're talking about clients and you're talking about that you're doing well and you're trying to help clients, though you gave us the great example of one whose business is really off and it was down last year and it's down again. And your book is called, as I said, Built to Lead, and there you're teaching people how to reach what we would call your maximum potential in your career. So how do we do that? Give us a cheat sheet. What's like your top 3 takeaways?
Built to Lead, the full title is 7 Management Rewards Principles for Becoming a Top 10% Manager. I have actually become a top 10% manager in 3 separate industries. And I please don't think I'm trying to sound arrogant when I say this, but I actually became a multimillionaire in the last 2. So I do know a few things about a successful business. And my company, myemployees.com, is our company, 25-year-old firm. We're in the top 1% in the world in employee engagement and recognition companies. And we've been growing for over 20% a year. In the business world, they call that a gazelle if you've done 20% or more for 5 years in a row. We've done it for well over a decade, closer to 15 years.
Yeah,
but, that's what we do.
Tell us about that. Tell us about myemployees.com.
Sure. We have over 12,000 active clients in the U.S. and Canada, all 50 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. And we basically work with managers within companies, and we have employee engagement surveys. We give the manager a 10-question survey, where we call that the pulse, and then the employees will take a 35-question survey. And let's just say that they are never close. The managers typically feel like they're about 25% better than they are. So the employees bring them back to reality. And from that, we help the managers. We let the managers say, hey, this is where you're hurting. You're not very proficient in this particular area. Maybe it's employee recognition. Maybe it's that they need to read a book like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Some people are just not very warm when they want to build a relationship with their employees. Quite frankly, they struggle. So that's what we try to help people do. And then once they do that, we actually tie the employee recognition program to the profitability and the goals of the company. You know, a lot of managers will tell you, well, I do employee recognition because I want my people to know that I care about them. Well, that's all well and good, but if you don't have a higher, more, stronger purpose for having it, the first economic problem that you have, you'll drop it. And companies, sadly, will do things like that. I don't want to say one big sporting goods company, I'll say this, I'm not going to say the name of it, but they actually cut their employee recognition program with us. They cut the people who did their yard work. They cut the people who came in and cleaned the toilets, and they made their employees start doing it. Now, that's a great way to bond with your employees. Would you agree?
Yeah, great way.
Not too swift.
Yeah, not too swift.
No, not too swift. But that's, my premise in my book is the 7 rewards principles, and I'll give them to you real fast, is the R. Rewards is an acronym, and it's rewards. The first R is reconnaissance. It's like, who's on your bus? Jim Collins in his great book, Good to Great. Mm-hmm. Who's on your bus? If you have the wrong employees, your foundation is never going to be great. Your company will never be great. You'll never be successful. So you have to get rid of the duds and the dead weight. I have a quote, basically a phrase that I have: you hire, you train, you prune, and you repeat. So if you hire and you train, they don't get it, and you train them and you keep trying, and you just keep kicking a dead horse, get rid of them and replace them. The second one is education, tied into that as well. And I do book clubs with my employees. I have 45 employees in my company. We split up the company, half on Wednesday morning at 10, half on Thursday morning at 10. I buy books. I pass them out. I say, read chapter 1 by next week. Here's a notebook. Here's a highlighter. Come in with your notes. And then we discuss it. That principle right there alone has made me millions because it bonds us together as a team. So we all have our different lives, and we all have different stories. We share those. We talk about something like attitude. Yes, sometimes we all have bad attitudes in our life. We have good ones. But those are the ones that make us successful. So we talk about that. We bond with that. Then the next thing after the book clubs, which are phenomenal for my company, we've done it for 10 years. The next one is you got R-E is education, and you got W, which is winners emerge. People step forward. They ask to take the book club and lead it for that particular week. They start asserting themselves. They want to become Dave. They'll say, Dave, do you have any books on leadership that you would recommend to me? Are there any DVD courses that you have that I could watch at home? Various things like that. And then after W is A, and that is attitude. Really, attitude is foundational. If your employees don't have the right attitude, you will never be successful. And by the way, the manager has to have the right attitude too. Gallup organization said that 70% of managers are either disengaged or actively disengaged. And what that actively disengaged means is that they're going the opposite direction where the company wants that business to go. So they're fighting upper management. They're talking down upper management. That's where you definitely don't want to go there. So you want to have the people with the right attitude. It's huge. You cannot do anything if you don't have the right attitude in your people, period.
Thanks so much, David Long. We appreciate it. Great information there. Hang with us. Much more coming your way next here on America Tonight. And we continue here with David Long. Exciting stuff, talking about employees and things that have really, really worked. Stay with us.
And the next one is the R, which is the second R, I should say, in rewards, is recognition. Of course, that's my company. That's our main purpose. And we're very successful with that. And we have over 80% of our clients come back the second year. and they typically stay with us for years. We've got some who've been with us all 25 years. But I mean, we work with them. We show them how to use their employee recognition to motivate their employees, but also to motivate their employees to do the things that make the company money, and the employees too, by the way. So it's a win-win is what it is. So then after you have the recognition, you go into D on rewards, and that's duplication. And I've developed what I call my Shark's Teeth Leadership Development Program. And are you familiar with how shark's teeth are where they have rows of teeth?
They're sharp.
Yeah, sure.
Aren't they?
You don't want to see them up close and personal, but trust me, there's a bunch of rows of teeth. Behind the teeth in the front, they've got like 10 or so teeth behind each one that as soon as they get in the fight with a prey, like a seal or something like that, and if a tooth pops out, another one pops right up behind it. So that's what we do with our people. Every manager in our company, we have 5 of them for 45 employees. Every manager, I ask them, who is your heir apparent? If something, God forbid, happens to you, who is the person that you believe is the most qualified in your department to take over your spot? And they tell me, and I say, okay, the next question is, what are you doing to develop that individual? And they have to tell me, because I ask every once in a while, what's the story? You know, we hire new employees because we're growing so fast. So we'll add some, and all of a sudden you got an employee that just came in like 6 months to a year ago, and my goodness, they are ambitious. They are asking for more responsibility, and they just come in and they raise the bar. You know, we've got a young lady that just came in with us several months ago named Becky, and she is doing a phenomenal job. She's doing the best ever, you know, at taking better care of our clients and helping them reassess and determine what they want to improve. She shows them how to improve, and she's just doing a phenomenal job. Like I said, she's raised the bar, and that's what you want. You want fresh blood coming in, pushing the numbers, making people do more than they've ever done in their lives. And we have a very, very strong business because of that. So like I said, we've been averaging 20% growth for years, every year. We did $8 million last year. We're projecting hopefully $10 million this year, which is 25% growth. But so,
awesome.
And the last one after duplication is success. And success to me is not money. I've been very blessed. You know, I have 3 houses. I have a commercial building, 20,000 square feet, 16 acres. I got a beach house. All that's paid for. I don't owe a dime on any of it. My wife and I have Harley Davidsons. We rode cross country in 05, ocean to ocean, 6.5-week trip. We had a motor coach, all that good stuff. That's from taking care of our clients. But I do not look at money as success. In my book, there is a picture of what I call my treasure chest. And several years ago, my employees gave that to me. And in the treasure chest, there were 35 or so employees at the time. And each of them wrote out to me on a piece of paper, a card or whatever, and gave it to me. And in that it said what I have meant to their lives. And quite frankly, that's what success is. It's your legacy that you leave. It is not the money that you make. Because when you make a certain amount of money, you feel like I need to make more. But when you make more, it's still empty. That's not gratifying. It's a temporary fix. So if you focus on improving your life by improving the lives of others, that to me is true success. And I illustrate it with this. The guy who won at the time the biggest lottery winnings was $294 million. Mm-hmm. Well, he said by the end of that, this was on like ABC's 2020, and he said at the end of that, you know, after his granddaughter, who was the apple of his eye, he gave her like 3 cars. He gave her just tons of money. She stopped working. He stopped working his company. And this guy was a millionaire when he won the lottery, which people don't know that. Now, this guy, he knew how to manage money, but when he got a bunch of money he did not earn, he blew it. He started spending money, started going to strip clubs. His wife left him. His granddaughter, make a long story short, she ended up ODing on drugs, and they found $100 bills wadded up in the floorboard of her car.
Wow.
And that, to me, and when it was all said and done, he lost his wife. He lost all his friends, his family. His kids didn't talk to him anymore. His granddaughter was dead, and he said the worst thing that ever happened to me was winning that lottery. Now, who in their right mind would say that, right?
Right.
But that's reality. That's reality. That's not success.
Mm-hmm. Boy, I so agree. What an interesting conversation. Built to Lead, David Long, we got to fly. Great stuff. Thanks so much for coming on.
By all means, thank you.